Welcome to Pirates of the Susky. Today, I got another cooking video for you. Today we're going to smoke up some baby back ribs and a Boston butt pork roast for pulled pork. So, we'll show you how to do it. Like I said, today, I'm doing a Boston butt for pulled pork and baby back ribs. For the Boston butt, for the pulled pork, we're going to do a brown sugar bourbon rub. And for the baby back ribs, we're going to be doing an applewood rub, all from McCormick's. Usually what we'll do is we'll cover them in a little bit of mustard, kind of holds the rub on. So first, we're going to blot down these ribs. We'll get them on first because that's what we're eating tonight. The ribs are going to take about 6 hours on the smoker to get fully tender and fully cooked and perfect. Doesn't have to be perfectly dry because, like I said, we're going to put a little bit of mustard on there. But to get most of that blood and fluid off, it's a good thing. Okay. So for these ribs, the first thing you really want to make sure you do is on the inside, it has this membrane. You want to remove that membrane. A lot of people will just score it or cut it, but it's actually quite easy to take off. If you just take your fingernail, find a bone towards the end, you can pull it down, get a finger under it, start to peel it away. Once you get a decent amount to grip, hold the ribs and hold the membrane and just pull it off just like that. Very quick and easy, and a lot of people forget this step, and it's very vital to having very tender ribs. So, like I said again, you want your ribs to be as tender and fall off the bone as possible, and this is one of the biggest steps in getting that to happen. Alright, might want to trim some of this excess junk off. It's not all meat anyway. Clean them up, make them look pretty good, and first thing we're going to do is mustard the backside and rub the backside because we're going to put the backside down. Don't need a lot of mustard, just enough to get a decent little bit of a coating. So, this is the side that the end is going to be nice and crispy and delicious. So, there's the applewood rub. Get that mustard all up in there. Okay. Let me give it a little bit of a pat. A lot of people don't realize when they're rubbing down meat that you need to let it dry, or not so much dry, but you need to let the dry rub kind of soak into the meat, or else when you go to flip it, it'll all fall off. So we're going to give that like 2 minutes to sit, and then we'll flip it and mustard the other side. Alright, it's been about 3 or 4 minutes. Go ahead and flip these over. We'll rub down the other side. Okay, so now we're letting those ribs, I'll call it dry, but we're letting the rub kind of soak into that meat. What we're going to do is we're going to prepare the smoker. The smoker has already been turned on, and I've been heating it up so far. Now I have some apple chips and hickory chips that have been soaking for the last about 2 hours. So what I do is I put them into the chip tray, and then I go and throw it down in the bottom and start the smoke. So you soak them in water, that way they don't immediately burn up, but they last a little bit longer. And I'm going to have to replace these wood chips about, I want to say every hour or so. And in the bottom of the smoker is a hydration tray where there's a little bit of water. And I like to pour a beer in there every once in a while too. So the hydration tray is nice and warm. Looks like it's working pretty good. Keeps a little bit of steam in there. Set the chip tray right on top of the heat. This one, you can turn the heat up, turn it down. We're going to keep it on all the way low. That'll give us a internal temperature about 225, 230. Okay, while the ribs are sitting there drying, I'm going to do the same thing to the Boston butt. This we're going to cook in this small aluminum tray with the fat side up. That's going to allow all that fat, once it starts to render, to soak down through the meat, and when it's in this tray like this, it honestly just makes it a lot easier for cleanup. And the smoke can still get up and around it. So this one you don't have to worry too much about letting it dry before you flip it, because it's going to sit right on top of that seasoning. And you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want with the rub, but either way, this brown sugar bourbon is going to be good. So now the ribs are pretty much ready to go, and we'll take them out and put them in the smoke. And the same thing goes for the pork roast. That can go in the smoker as well. Now, the ribs, are only going to be in there about 6 hours. This pork roast, however, that's going to take about 8 to 10 hours to reach full temperature. You want the pork roast to be approximately 210 to 212 degrees internally. That way it breaks down all the membranes, breaks down all the ligaments and everything, and it'll pull apart that perfect pulled pork texture. You'll notice that I had to cut the racks of ribs in half. It's because I'm working with a little bit smaller of a smoker today. Normally, I'll be smoking on my brother's smoker, which can hold 3 to 4 times as much as that little smoker. Good smoke rolling from that bad boy. Perfect temperature. All right, so we're about 3 hours in now. We're gonna take a look, see what they look like. Sitting at about 225-ish, a little bit higher. Looking pretty good. So I have a wireless meat thermometer that I have now wired through the back of the smoker, and I need to drop it down so that I can keep mind of the temperature of this Boston butt. I want to make sure I get it right into the middle of it. Perfect. While I got it open, I'll spray down the ribs to keep them moist. And this is just a little mixture of apple juice and apple cider vinegar. Give that a little spray too, why not? Now we can close it back up. Temp dropped a little bit when I opened the door, but we'll give it another. Alright, so it's time to finally take the ribs off. We're going to take a look at what they look like.
Good bone pull. Some ribbies.
All right. Well, there's the ribs. The pulled pork is going to stay in for about another 3 or 4 hours. We'll bring that out about 8, 9 o'clock tonight. So let's get in and taste these. All right, so now it's time for the taste test. Anybody that's new to my channel, I'd like you to meet my wonderful niece Avery. She loves her zucchini and squash. And this is my mother.
The guy who taught you all about cooking ribs.
Yeah, he seems to think so. So go ahead and taste it.
Yum.
What do you think?
They're wonderful. Yeah, really
Good?
Always fantastic.
It's good, Avery. Say please like, share, and subscribe.
The ribs turned out okay. We're having some leftover of the casserole from last night. And as always, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. And God bless America.